Coming up this week on the Digital Lifestyle Show 850, we've got lots to fit in. Richard's here, and we'll be talking about latest Windows Insider builds and why some features have been removed, which I'm kind of sad about. We'll be talking about upgrading Vista to Windows 11. Yes, I finally managed to get it to work, and I did a little video of that. We're talking Windows on the Surface Duo, TI-99, and lots more. So let's get straight to Richard. Richard, good evening.
Good evening, Ian. How are you?
Okay, good. It always feels a bit strange. It's been a holiday, bank holiday, and we record on a Tuesday evening. It feels like a Monday night because it's been a long
weird,
weekend.
Isn't it? Yeah, I agree. It is really weird, but I'm not complaining.
Definitely not. No, very much enjoyed it. Although I did do a family barbecue, and obviously you've got to pre-arrange these things. So I arranged it for Sunday, and of course, the one day it rained was Sunday. So. As is the law when you do barbecues in the UK.
I thought it was always sunny in that part of the world.
It always is, apart from on Sunday lunchtime. Although I set up a big umbrella out the thing. I've got a big cover thing, and I was fine. And everybody waved to me from the inside while I was cooking, so that was nice of them.
Peace and quiet, really. I think it sounds perfect to me.
Yeah, actually, I had my earbuds in. I was listening to music. You could have left me out there all day. I was quite happy. Actually, talking about those earbuds, I've got them on my desk now. I've been using the Samsung Galaxy Buds as well. I use the Surface earbuds with the PC, but I use the Galaxy earbuds with the Duo, so you don't have to keep repairing and swapping around. And they were very good, actually.
Oh, nice.
They're the Galaxy Bud Lights, I think they are the cheaper ones, but the noise cancelling, and they pair up really well with the Duo. And it's actually, given the size of the Duo, sometimes it's easy just to use earbuds. So especially if someone calls me when I'm working, I just stick the earbuds in, and then your hands free them.
I'll tell you, I've got some Bluetooth headphones I use with my iPhone, and something has happened in the last couple of weeks. Because they never pair up first time now. They always take two or three goes to pair, which is, I guess, all part of the joy and delight that is Bluetooth. But been quite frustrating. Although not as frustrating as the iPhone podcast app, which I don't know if you've encountered it at all on the Apple devices. But as you know, I've got a theory that with every release of iOS, Apple have a team committed to making the podcast app that little bit worse. And this time they've done themselves proud, because now that seems to me to crash normally at the start of the first podcast, it'll crash at least once. So, fun and games.
Oh, very nice. I was going to say, I know Samsung, one thing they are really good at between the Samsung and the Duo, I suppose, is that I can receive a call with the buds still in the case, and I can put the buds in and answer the call. There's not this pairing, waiting, or whatever. There's no delay. I don't have to ring people back by the time I've got the earbuds paired up with the Bluetooth. It just works. So
nice.
They work pretty well on that. But I can't help you with the Apple Podcast app, unfortunately.
No, I think it's basically so. You know what? It's about time you moved on to a decent podcast app and stopped trying to use the inbox stuff, because it, quite frankly, is quite rubbish.
Yeah, I can understand that. So anyway, we've got some Windows Insider news for this week. We've got I'm definitely going to ask you where you're going to be at the weekend, because I know you're going to an event. And we turn the geek factor up a little bit for you on that one. And we'll start. We mentioned the Surface Duo. Have you seen that? We talked about this a few weeks ago, but I can't remember his name. Called now. I forgot his name.
Gustavo Monster, I think his name is.
Yeah. He has got Windows 11 working now on the device. I think he had it working a couple of weeks ago, but it was fairly basic. But now I think it's working a bit better.
This is impressive stuff. So it's Duo 1, and I think he's got both screens working, because he got one screen working a few months back, but now he's managed to get Windows 11 on both screens. So it's obviously there was always the element of what is the point of this? The answer to that is because it's brilliant.
Exactly.
Why wouldn't you climb that mountain? It's there. So yes, he's actually managed to get I think it's Windows 11 ARM, isn't it? Up and running on the Duo 1. I don't think it's that functional. I'm not sure how many apps actually run, but it looks pretty pretty good actually so far. So yeah, but of course it is only for the Duo 1, which is a shame because obviously the Duo 2 would be a bit snappier. But I guess there's a whole load of changes he would need to make. So yes, this is I think he's on Twitter, isn't he? It's at GUS 33000. And it's worthwhile following that just to see his progress with making it work.
Yeah, absolutely, and he is one of the team behind the WOA project, which is what I used to get the Raspberry Pi working with Windows and my Lumia as well. So my Lumia 950 XL, is his project that I use with that as well. So yeah, impressive stuff. I think it's great to see it. The state of my original Duo is at the moment it's still command line only, I'm afraid.
Oh,
you can't make any calls. You can only do command line. I've effectively wiped the whole image, including the recovery image, and you can download a recovery image, but you have to be able to put it into the recovery mode, and I'm pretty sure I've nuked that partition as well. So not quite. I think I need to somehow get the recovery image bit back on it. So I'm not quite sure I'm going to do that, which is why I won't be attempting it on the Duo 2 either. Even if it is supported, because that is my phone and I use all the time.
Exactly. With the Duo 1, it is impressive though. I have to say, it's he's done a fantastic job really. Just to see it working, and I gather performance wise, well obviously it's not fully all there yet. Just reading some of the commentary, it does sound like it actually runs quite acceptably if you compare it to one of the early Windows and ARM laptops. So, which not that great, but still, it's Windows 11 on a Duo. Fantastic.
Yeah, I think that's quite impressive for that. So I tried something on a Hyper-V. I wanted to see how little memory you could use to get Windows 11 to boot up, and I got it down to 128 meg before it would just blue screen. If I went any lower than that, it would blue screen on startup. But it did manage to 256. It would start okay, but it just sat there for about 20 minutes.
Yes, frantically paging to disk, I imagine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I thought it would be interesting, so I just went through Hyper-V and just kept dropping the memory down to blue screen. But yeah, who would have thought? Although I think you really need like 8 or 16 if a Windows 11 to not be paging away all the time.
Yes, and remind me again how much memory the ZX Spectrum came with when it began life 40 years ago.
Oh well, yeah, 16 or 48K. Because if you had a ZX81 like me, the first thing I got for Christmas, the 81, was 1K.
And now you need 128 megabytes just to get your OS working. Progress, eh?
Yeah. I got a 16K RAM pack, which I was very pleased to get because before I got that, you had to put all your variables in quotes and make them strings and then do vowels on them because apparently it took less memory. These are all things you learned from Sinclair user. But yeah, it is fun. It is fun messing about with that, and that's a good thing about Hyper-V. You can mess about with things like that, and of course, I did do a few weeks ago. I talked about I wanted to see if I could get could get Windows. I think it was Windows XP upgraded to Windows 11, and I've tried it quite a few times, and so I kind of didn't get it working and ended up giving up. But in fact, in the end, I did get it to work. So so Vista to first of all, you can't go from 64-bit version of Vista from XP to any other operating system. So that's just not something you can do. So that was out. So I had to start with Vista, and I managed to get Vista. So I got Vista XP 64-bit working on my machine, and then from there I got Service Pack 1, and from Service Pack 1 I got to Windows 7, Windows 7 to Windows 8, 8 to 8.1, and 8.1 to 8.1 to 10, and then 10 to 11, all the way up. Using Hyper-V. I did have to do one little bit of messing about with. You can't. Vista has to be Gen 1 Hyper-V, and I want it to go to, and Windows 11 has to be Gen 2. So at some point you've got to switch over from Gen 1 to Gen 2, and if you do that, then that requires a bit of work as well. So I managed to do that and fix that as well. So yeah, I've got all that up and running, and I was very pleased that that's all up and running now, and yeah, all working nicely. So yeah, all done.
But again, the question is going to be, Ian, why did you do this?
Yes, yeah, and a lot of people tweeted with that, and yes, that is true. An enormous amount of people tweeted me and said, "Why didn't you just go to Linux?" Thanks for that, but I think that was kind of missing the point a little bit. Yeah, I don't want to use Linux. Thank you very much. No need for that. So,
were there any suggested distributions?
Yeah, people tried all sorts, came up with lots of things, but nobody said, nobody gave me any good options. So anyway, that was what I went to in the end, and so there I am. So that was the answer in the end. So I did manage to do it all the way up, and that's my work with that complete now. So I'm very pleased with that. But that's enough messing about with that for now, I think. So yeah, so there we go. So that's my work with that complete.
It will never be complete because there'll always be a new version of Windows.
Well, yeah, that's the one thing I did think of was, should I now get that onto the latest Windows Insider builds?
I guess you could do. I mean, I'd say probably you want to stick with releases. So I mean, be Windows 12, won't it?
Windows, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there you go. So that's where I'll be. That's where I'll be next. So maybe I'll put Windows Insider build on next and see how that goes. But yeah, I had some good fun, and Hyper-V is great for. Hyper-V is good for that kind of thing of messing about and getting builds installed and going for Gen 1s and Gen 2s and everything else.
Definitely.
So yeah, I quite enjoyed doing that. So anyway, a lot of people asked me, like with the Windows 11 on the Raspberry Pi, why? And of course, it's not a question of why. It's because you can, exactly as you said.
Yep.
So in terms of Windows Insiders, we did have a build last week, didn't we? We've not had a build for ages as well, haven't we? A couple of weeks, and then it finally came out on Friday night.
Yeah, it's 22610, which I think they tried to get one out the week before, and it didn't pass the quality bar. Although God knows how low that must be. But anyway, what's been coming out of Microsoft of late, perhaps there just hadn't been enough cumulative updates, servicing, annual tests done. It's very important to get as many of those done as possible. So anyway,
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Snark aside, yes, we did get a new dev channel build, and it had some new stuff in it, but also some stuff was gone as well.
Yeah, what was really I was really disappointed is they've rolled back some of the tablet features, and that I would say is one of the biggest things I was most looking forward to. So now you see I've got the full size tablet taskbar at the bottom there on my tablet, and the previous build that was collapsed and you could swipe up to bring it. You still got the swipe up to bring up the start menu, but the actual tablet feature one has gone, which I think is a real shame. I was quite happy using that.
Yeah, and what's more interesting is that they've said it's as a result of feedback, which is so presumably people objected to it, and now it's gone. I mean, I guess the first question one was asked is exactly how many people are really using their Windows devices like that, apart from you, obviously. Because I imagine that pretty much all Surface Pros are sold with keyboards. But I mean, it was a useful feature if you were using your Surface Pro in tablet mode, because it did make it easier to use. So I'm not really clear why it's gone. I would have thought if people objected to it, they could have just made it turn on and offable. Perhaps it had some issues. But then again, since pretty much the only 2-in-1s that have made any kind of market dent come from Microsoft, surely they can they've got control of the hardware, so they could make it work. So I'm not clear why that's gone, and I think it is a shame.
Yeah, I've no idea why they took that out. It's such a small subset of users, but I'm guessing that it didn't meet the quality bar.
Yeah,
and that's the end of it.
Yeah, again, I have many thoughts on the quality bar at Microsoft, but we'll move on from those. Yeah, it's really odd. I mean, I guess it is a reminder, of course, that all these things they'll try at the dev channel or beta channel, and there's every chance they simply won't ever make it into the shipping version. And this could come back. Maybe it just seems an odd decision to take it away, if I'm honest. I mean, perhaps there were some apps that were fundamentally incompatible with it. I mean, I'm thinking perhaps a bit like sets and things where that disappeared. But I mean, this seems to be such a small thing to do. I don't know why they've decided to put it out. So it is strange. I mean, there's other things missing as well. I mean, the watermark has gone.
Yes.
So while they've said they're still doing work on it, the disappearance of the watermark, I would say, indicates things are afoot.
Yeah, I agree. The watermark certainly signifies that's a new word. Signifies that I think we're on the channel of this is ready for release, and I'm hearing that it may be a bit sooner than I said. I said August, didn't I? And it may be that this is ready a little bit sooner.
Well, exactly, and that may be why they've pulled out things like the taskbar stuff, because they thought, well, it's not going to get finished in time, so out it comes.
Yeah, that's true. So maybe that's why, but it just seems it just seems a shame to that. But I think you are right. I think we are on track for. I think this release is coming soon. That's why the watermark's gone. They're pulling out features, and that's maybe where we'll see that feature come back for dev and not for beta and release preview. But at the moment, they're on the same track, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. So and there were also, I mean, I'm not going to go through them all. There were an awful lot of fixes in the initial release as well, an awful lot of fixes in all parts of the operating system. So it kind of felt like they were doing ultra polishing here as well. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
I mean, although some stuff did come back, I saw they've put back some of the connectivity stuff. The WEP and TKIP connections, which they were dropped because obviously they're as far as Microsoft is concerned, they're insecure and have been deprecated. But they have put them back in again, although they've said they're going to go again in the future release. So a bit of a life extension for people whose routers and things don't support more modern standards. So that's good to see. Although SMB V1 is still most definitely going. It's now disabled by default for pretty much everything. So you can re-enable it, but again, the writings are on the wall there. I think with the blog post by Ned Pyle that this is SMB1 is going to be the binaries are going to actually be removed, which will I think cause issues with home users who will suddenly wonder why their NAS devices will stop working.
Yeah. That's the question. That's the thing that's going to cause the issue for them, isn't it? That this, it's just going to disappear.
Yeah, exactly. Although, I mean, again, when I said it'll disappear, it'll disappear from. So the scenario would be that someone buys themselves a brand new Windows 11 laptop and then finds it just simply will not connect to their old NAS box. I mean, that would be. Whereas if you've got an existing PC that you've upgraded, that will obviously still SMB1 will still be on that. It will still be there. It's just it will just be brand new devices where the binaries will disappear from in the coming months. And then you'll have to go on, and then you have to go online and download an SMB1 binary package if you want them. But obviously, Microsoft is correctly very keen that you stop using SMB1 because it's from a different era.
Yeah, and I think they did say that you're not going to get disabled as such, but if you didn't have it already. If you had it enabled already, they wouldn't disable it. But on new machines, it'll come. So like you said, it'll be just suddenly why you get a new machine and it doesn't work anymore.
Yep. But apart from that, but it's just really, apart from all the fixes, it's kind of like cosmetic polishing. They've done some twiddling with the battery indicator. They've done some filling with Task Manager so it picks up the accent colors. Well, just nice. Feels like nice to have polishing stuff, really. Although with Task Manager, I think you still can't open it by right click on the taskbar, can you?
No, you can't. No.
Oh, I've got to relearn that muscle memory.
Yeah, unfortunately, you can't do that. And there is one known issue, isn't it, where the more icons doesn't show either.
Yes, I mean there are sort of known things still on the system, but it's again, it's not the end of the world, and I think they are getting there, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think these builds are all these builds are all getting there. This is nearly done. I think this release of Windows.
Yeah, I think you're right.
11. Yeah. We didn't get a servicing pipeline update for it either last week.
Well, I would say the week is young. I would think by the time you put this out here, there'll be at least 2.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I don't think we got any other updates last week, did we? We just got that one build last week.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. I think we had the week before, didn't we? We had the release preview one, but
yeah, I mean, we've had some updates from a more from an enterprise standpoint. I mean, we had the standalone Windows Defender that went to GA today, which is interesting. I think if you're a small or medium-sized business and you kind of want to have some of those enterprise anti-malware tools, and at the moment they're kind of built into, I think, Microsoft 365 Business Premium, and also a bunch of the sort of corporate enterprise licenses of the Microsoft does, but you've not been able to get access to Microsoft Defender as a standalone product. Well, now you can for the sum, I think it's $3 per user per month that it costs, and that gives you all the stuff like sort of registering devices, reducing your surface area for attack. So I would say quite handy for a small business, although again, it would probably be prudent to look and see what other options there are from the likes of Trend Micro and other antivirus and other antivirus companies as well, because of course you are signing up for a subscription here.
Yeah, of course, yeah. That's I must admit, from a Defender is a great package for standalone. For enterprise stuff, then yeah, there's a lot other options available.
For sure, yeah, definitely. I mean, I almost wish they'd kind of just bundle it in. Just said, okay, if we are going, if we're serious about saying we want to make sure that everyone is, gets the maximum level of protection as possible. I'm just disappointed they didn't bundle it in, but maybe that would have caused some problems with anti-competitive practices, because I know they've had that problem before with various tools they've bundled in with Windows and caused grief and stress. But it is a shame though that it is a cost extra thing.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Incidentally, on those videos, by the way, I mentioned that I forgot to. I did video the Vista to Windows 11 process with a bit of memory lane on there, as well as I looked at some of the OSs, and I also did condense it down to 120 seconds as well.
Wow, that
people
is
with
impressive.
shorter attention spans.
So it's kind of the London to Brighton in 3.5 minutes.
Yes, exactly. That's where I got the inspiration from. Yes.
And have you got the same music though? The same sort of 80s cheesy synth? I
have got exactly. I especially recorded some music for it as well.
Well, that's wonderful.
Yes.
And of course no, it will be 80s cheesy synth.
It is exactly. That's exactly what it was. Yeah.
Well done. Excellent. Please, I'm going to watch that now.
Yeah. So it's go on the YouTube channel. There's 2 versions of it. There's the long one for people with longer attention spans, and the 80-second or the 120-second one for not. And with some music that I especially composed for that as well. That was before we started. I've actually recorded quite a lot of music recently, all using Windows 10. Because I've upgraded my music machine to Windows 11 because of the core driver issues, and of course this laptop that I use for music recording isn't supported. Even though I'm sure it would work if I actually put it on there, I haven't bothered.
So what's your synth of choice?
Well, I'm currently using a Korg Minilogue and a Korg Radius. The Minilogue is brilliant. It's an analog synth, a newish analog synth, but it can do anything there. And for drum machine, I'm using a TR-505 Roland from 1985.
Did you ever fix that key on that keyboard? I forget
No,
what
over
it
there.
was.
No, it's not. No.
'Cause you were talking about it.
I tried to buy the key, but there's a place in Italy where they shipped them and they stopped shipping to the UK because of Brexit.
That seems like a weak excuse on their part.
Yeah. I'm also using a Yamaha TX7 from 1986, which is a rack unit of the DX7, which of course is the famous 80s keyboard that had all the piano sounds and everything else, the 80s electric piano.
Ian, I tell you what, I'm going to Spain in a couple of weeks' time. You could always have your Italian company ship it to where I'm going to be in Spain, and I'll bring it back for you. Well, obviously declaring it. Well, obviously declaring it in customs as I go. I hasten to add.
You'll the amount of duty you'll have to pay. You'll pay for that. Yeah, I'll have a look at that. So yeah, that's you pay duty for everything coming in now. So
exactly, I'll be going through the red lane saying I've got this mysterious switch. Is it yours? No, it's not mine. That's gonna really make him happy, isn't it?
Oh yeah, they'll be very impressed with that. So I'm thinking, what else did I get to? Oh, now there was something else I wanted to ask you about. We talked about the Spectrum last week, and I've seen quite a few of the Spectrum things. It's been pretty impressive, and it's nice to see all the Spectrum things. But I believe you are going to a retro event this weekend.
Oh dear, yes I am. Yes, I am going. I've decided. Well, it's one of those things that these things haven't been run now for a couple of years because of one thing and another. But yeah, the believe it or not, there is a TI-99 user group in the UK that's still very active, and they're holding their annual get together up in Loughborough in the UK. So I thought I'd go along and just see all the gear, because obviously there's a whole range of TI-9 things out there. There's obviously the basic console expansion boxes, but there's been various hardware things made over the years, such as a sort of a Pi-based device which emulates all the bits and pieces you need for expansion box, everything else. And I just like geeking out over old hardware, really. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It's if anyone finds themselves at a loose end this weekend, as I say, it's up in Loughborough, I think, and you can probably get more details from the TI User Group UK, which I think is ti99ug.co.uk, I think is the URL. And yeah, should be fun. Should be interesting.
Yeah, that sounds great. That because these user groups are great.
They are great, and of course, I mean, I'm going for that one. But yeah, I mean, for every single bit of retro machinery out there, it seems to be an active community of users either keeping the hardware going, or creating emulators or whatever else, which is, I think, absolutely brilliant. And I think I don't know about you, but it feels like there's been an upsurge of interest in these retro machines in the last couple of years as well.
Yeah, it definitely has. Yeah. There's something about them, and there's something special about the community and everything else. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it's I mean, I think the Raspberry Pi, tapped into some of that when it first came out, but I think I guess it beats lockdown puppies and things. Getting so I remember having a Spectrum or a Dragon 32 or whatever else when I was a kid. I wonder if they're still around now. Oh, they are, and you can get them, and they and there's a very dedicated community that both keeps the hardware going and has all kinds of options for upgrades or emulators. I think it's absolutely brilliant. So I'm really looking forward to it, and I'll bore you senseless next week about it.
And what's your sort of what do you do for emulation then? So if you're not running on the actual hardware.
Yeah, I mean, for the TI-99, I actually I use RetroPie, which I think uses TI-9 Sim is the emulator. This is off the top of my head, so my apologies if I'm getting it wrong. And with that, you can take the ROM images from your obviously you own the ROMs or the cartridges already, so they're very easy to download from the hardware, or there are ways to get them online, and then it just fires up. So I've been running mine on a Raspberry Pi 400, which has got more than enough horsepower to do that, and I have one for the TI-99. I did another for Sinclair stuff, which I think is Fuse based. Again, I think it's Fuse.
Yeah, Fuse. I use that. Yeah,
and also also some stuff for the BBC. And what I like about, I mean, there are people who will refuse to go near an emulator because they prefer to use the real hardware, which is, again, I couldn't agree more. I haven't got space to have all the hardware as well as everything else. So I quite like having my mini SD cards, and of course with all the emulators, you can say, well, I can actually have access now to all the hardware, disk drives and memory expansions that I never had when I had the actual real hardware, and that's quite exciting to basically turn these things on and see almost like your Hyper-V in some ways, and you can say, okay, let's see what it would have been like to have had this or that, or done that CPU upgrade, or had that much memory to play with, or maybe if I'd upgraded the video chip to do that, and then see the effect. So yeah, really interesting stuff. But of course, it's also quite nice to sort of switch it into 100% vanilla mode as well, and just get back to it. And it's interesting to see how some things have improved and some things were better back then. I think particularly in terms of being able to turn things on and they just work. That's something which I think we've definitely lost in the modern world. I mean, things like the Spectrum, the Commodore, the TI, the Dragon, the Oracle, all those machines, you turn them on and they just worked. Whereas now, it doesn't work that way anymore, which I think is a shame.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, especially from a programming point of view, you were in the command prompt. You're in the programming environment, aren't you? You fire your Spectrum up or your BBC Micro, and you're in that command, where you're going to start programming. And it's, you're kind of a bit disassociated from that now. Well, you're locked. You're not in a programming environment, and to get a programming environment is quite complicated.
Yeah.
So it is a shame that we've kind of lost that.
I guess that's that's because we all transitioned across to IBM PCs where you did boot up. I mean, I suppose also you had the Amiga, I guess that only had a very basic stub of a ROM, the Kickstart ROM, and then you have to basically put in Workbench or whatever to actually get it going. So I guess things had begun to change, even as the 80s drew to a close, things were changing. But of course, the IBM PC's always been that way, I think, where you had your BIOS, and then you'd boot something off that, be it DOS or Linux or whatever else, and then away you'd go. Happy days.
But the one thing I did play with is GW Basic was always included, wasn't it, on the Windows on DOS? On
DOS, yes, with 8, I think was 8 one of the standard things. You threw bananas over skyscrapers. Yes.
Yeah. I do remember programming GW Basic on there, and then sort of thing going up to Visual Basic from there. But yeah, it's that immediacy that you got from those 80s devices that I mean, a lot of programmers started, and a little bit for me as well, it was that you couldn't afford to buy it. It wasn't Game Pass for the Spectrum, was this? And it was like £4 or £5 for a game. There's no way I could buy a game every week or anything. I'd be lucky if I got one at Christmas. So the Sinclair User or whatever magazine with games code in there, you could type in and
debug when they
They never worked, of course, the first time, and I know I've said this before, but I would spend hours debugging them and finding a million typos in it, and it still didn't work. And then the following Sinclair, the January one, you had the problems, and in February one, it said, "We apologise for missing page 2 of the process or whatever." So yeah, and you learned about coding that way because you had to follow through what it was saying, and in fact, I remember getting some games, early Spectrum games, were in BASIC before they were all machine code, and you could break into them. You could press Control Break and get into it and see how it could be done.
I'm thinking Football Manager here.
Yeah, I think that was one of them, and you could have a look and see how they did it.
Yeah,
which was fantastic.
Give your team a lot of extra money to buy some players. That was great.
Yes, I do remember that one. You could edit the values, couldn't you, and hard code the values and things like that. So you could give yourself a lot of extra money. Yeah. I know. And I know things are so more complicated now, but I suppose you've got, on the other hand, we mentioned last week, we mentioned things like Scratch, and there are some development. Well, did Microsoft come up with a kids one? And I thought, what happened to that?
I mean, they're still doing Small Basic.
That was it, yeah.
Which is still a thing, and that's that's pretty good. But I think it's kind of that the focus on that has now changed, so it's just really a thing they give, I think, interns to look at. So
Right.
every now and then there'll be a splurge of new features, but on the whole, it feels as though it's become like a hobby thing at Microsoft. So it'll be, and obviously there are some people there that do as part of, perhaps not as part of their day job, but it's one of the things that they kind of own. But I think on the whole, it's a hobbyist thing now, really, at Microsoft, which I think is a shame, because it was pretty good and it kind of brought you back to those days. But again, I suppose we're thinking of how we learned. Scratch might be a better approach now, or something that's perhaps more Rust based or Python based might actually be a more useful thing to learn, really.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I just there is still things. I suppose there are things out there now with a more modern way of doing it. But and I think if you get a Python, so if you get a Pi and you Python's really quick to get started, and it's quite good fun as well. So.
Oh yes, yeah. Especially if you're using it on a Pi to control robots or Lego or things. I mean, I've still got the some Lego stuff they gave me for one of the Pi hats to let you control Lego Technic from the Pi, and that frankly was brilliant. And me and the smallest kid had a whale of a time basically making the robots, and of course it was very educational to use the Pi to fire up some Python. So, okay, let's rotate this cog around here and let's do that, and and it was a very educational process. So I think, I guess the Pi has taken on that mantle.
Yeah, and of course they're nice and cheap as well, and and
if you can get hold of them.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think you mentioned that the other week. There's still an issue.
There's still a major shortage of them. Yeah, I mean they are made of unobtainium. They really are. I think Pi 400 is quite easy to get hold of at the moment, and I think the zeros are relatively, well, not easy, but you can get them. But I think the ordinary fours, the Model B fours, are really hard to get at the moment. And I think the Pi team they're constantly on a treadmill where they can't scale up the production, and they're always fulfilling back orders. So it's very hard to order new stuff because the back orders are being fulfilled. I think there are, and I'm afraid I haven't got a link to it. There are tools you can use that will monitor when stock comes in and send you a notification. And I gather I think Eben Upton has mentioned them on some of his tweets. I think they're quite useful because that may be the only way that one can actually get hold of Pi hardware until the current supply chain crunch ends, which is great for them because obviously it's very popular. It's a popularity thing, but it's just, I can imagine it must be maddening as well to not be able to fulfill all the orders.
Yeah. It's not just them. It's affecting everybody, isn't it?
Yeah.
Every time I order something at work, be it a Wi-Fi head or a power supply or a docking station, no matter which supplier, which manufacturer, it's always the same issues, and that there's just there's long lead times on things. Hopefully it'll get improved over the coming months, but I think they're talking another year, aren't you? Hearing reports that it's going to be like this for another year at least.
Easily, yeah. I mean, again, Eben Upton did say that he thought it might be over this year, but he's now said, I'm not saying anything else because I keep being wrong. So I'm not going to say anything else now when it's up. And so I mean, I think we're looking at least until 2023. I've seen some reports saying 2020, 2024, and of course it's everything. It's not just the memory chips, it's connectors, it's just all these weird things that people just can't get hold of because of the disruption caused to the supply chain and the manufacturers by one thing and another.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, but hopefully then things like the Pis, which are great educational things, maybe be a bit easier for when we get to Christmas, because I think they always make a great Christmas gift. And even the project slide with the Christmas lights, my flashing lights with Python, it didn't cost me very much. It was quite good fun, and I learned quite a bit about MicroPython doing that with that microcontroller. So it's a great way of learning from that.
And I'm using the shortage as my excuse for why my project involving the rail line has stalled, and B, the Wall of Doom. Again, Can't do that, not because of my lack of any kind of ability whatsoever, because of component shortages. That's why I'm sticking to that excuse. It's okay.
Yeah, when you stick to that, we'll believe you. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to decide what I'm gonna do with my my light strip for the next project. I was thinking of I need to do something with the garden and some tech. What I was thinking of is, well, you might not, depending if you're a gardener or not, but if you're a gardener and you plant seeds like I do, tomatoes and chilies and things, you get your little wooden stick and you write on what they are, because if you don't, you completely forget what they are. And then you think, what plant was this? Because when you plant it, it's a seed, and then obviously it comes up later. So I always write on the little wooden stick what it is and when I planted it. So I was thinking of getting some NFC tags.
Oh, yeah.
And so when I plant the seed, I write the tag. Write the tag with my phone, put the tag on the plant pot, and then when I want to remember what it is, I can just go and scan it with the NFC. It'll tell me what it is, when I planted it, when I created the tag, and everything else. And then I could even associate maybe pictures with it or something else like that. So I think that's my next thing, because then of course you could build a database up then of things that you've done, and you could take pictures and associate that pictures with it and that kind of thing, so that you can have a look.
You could look at watering sessions and when you'd ask put for some all that stuff. Yeah, it'd be very useful. I mean, it's I guess you see that kind of approach being used by the post office and postal workers, where they basically scan things. I've been here, I've done that, or occasionally in data centers and network rooms where people say I've done this task, therefore I've scanned my NFC to say I've done the task, and they've logged and then move on to the next one. And I have a similar things at work with scanners and workflows and things, but I'm going to use NFC tags because they're nice to stick on the on the thing. So I think I might get some of them. They're not particularly dear, I seem to remember. I think I did buy some about 10 years ago and couldn't decide what to do with them. And now I found a use. I can't remember where I put the tags, so I'll have to get myself some new tags, I think. Brilliant.
And I need to get the application to go with it, but I'll send Gary this technical spec, and he can sort that out.
He'll be the man for that, because that's kind of almost describes his day job.
It's close to that. Hopefully he's feeling better next week as well for him.
Yes, indeed. I suspect it's lithium ion poisoning from being sat in electric car for too long. That's what it is.
Yeah. Well, actually,
it's all the electromagnetic waves getting in the driver's seat.
No one's actually spoke to him in person, have we, since last week's Elon Musk incident?
That is true. Ooh. Do you think they got him?
Yeah, I think they got him. That's where he is this week.
He's been given some re-education.
Yeah, that's it. He's been back on next week with a Tesla.
Exactly, with a long sharp stick.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll be back next week. Hopefully we'll all be back, and we're still using Twitter. The I think edit button's coming soon, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I mean, yes, we'll see how that's going to work. It's one of those things you think, oh, edit button, fantastic. Well, actually, if you have an edit button, then what happens to the comments under the tweet? Do they get deleted automatically, or because you can't edit a tweet and then the people who commented on the tweet anyway? Yeah, I mean, personally, I was just rather hoping that it all go away, but it seems it's going to stay around for a while. I'm not sure. I mean, is Musk still going for it? Was he?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, I wonder what the current stock price is.
Yes, probably descending as we talk.
Yes, I mean, yeah. Right now, it's still below the bid value, so it's not too far below. It hasn't been rising like gangbusters though. So yeah, it's still just gradually drifting downwards by looks of things. Yeah, I think so. But anyway, talking about that, so where can we find you, and pictures of Lego mainly? Yeah, I'm afraid it's mainly Twitter with Lego. Yes, I'm still licking my wounds after breaking my shuttle external tank. I've got to finish rebuilding that. It's quite hard to get the oomph and think I've got to rebuild this after I dropped it. I've got to start again and rebuild it. Oh, really?
It is, yeah.
Okay. So I've begun it, but it's hard to muster the enthusiasm.
And I didn't manage to persuade my son to buy the McLaren F1 car because that would have been something. Something I really like, but I wasn't interested in paying for it or building it. So that would have been great if he'd done it.
Slight problem there. Yeah, I can see a few problems there, definitely.
What is the one he bought last week? The Infinity Gauntlet.
Oh, well, that's a bit dull, really, isn't it?
Yes,
it's a bit like Thor's hammer. I've seen Thor's hammer in Lego too. It's just a big grey block with a stick in it. It's not very exciting compared to some of the really intricate, design Lego things which you can get. So, oh well, perhaps I'm just I don't know what kids like these days.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's it. Well, we should be back same time, same place next week, hopefully with Gary. I'm going to go and order some NFC tags now, and I guess you're going to go and polish off your TI 99 owner's badge.
I'm going to get my retro Pi image working just right on my Pi 400.
Oh, lovely. Right, well, great. Well, we'll see you next week.
Cheerio.